All right, I'll say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? Great. Allow us to begin this interaction this evening of your time with the following idea. We have described many times to your society the ideas that you do, in fact, create your own reality. Allow us now to provide a distinction about the ways that you do so. For understand there are, in a sense, it can be broken down to two ways in which you may create your reality. One, unconsciously, or what you may label unwittingly. Another, consciously, wittingly, knowingly, purposefully. Recognize that the exploration that your society has undergone for approximately the past 25,000 of your years has been the idea of unknowingly or unwittingly creating your reality. In other words, by virtue of the fact that you have chosen to experience limitation, to experience separation, the idea of individuality, you have, in a sense, cut off your memory of your inherent connectedness. Therefore, rather than realizing simply that you do create your own reality, you do then, as a byproduct, perceive that you are the product of an outer reality, that you are within a reality that is happening to you. And that is a very valid exploration. For as you have seen, you can experience that feeling. However, when you do, an interesting phenomenon does occur. This being the idea that by not recognizing that you create your own reality, by not owning it as it is, you do then extrapolate the notion that things are extraneous, that things do not belong. And when you are presented the opportunity to look at certain ideas that you have chosen to explore, by thinking they are extraneous, you have created compartments in your consciousness, where in thinking that they are extraneous, you do not look at them, you store them. And you may, in a sense, call this idea your subconscious, your unconscious. This, however, is simply an artificial construct. You are, again, a 100% being all the time. And this is but a label of a type or style of creation. The idea of compartments. When you do begin to, shall we say, colloquially speaking, store things within this subconscious closet, shall we say, after a time, it becomes a little crowded in there. Therefore, by refusing to look when the situation arises at the meaning and storing it and building up a reservoir of stored things that you refuse to look at, by virtue, in a sense, the contents of the closet begin to spill over and demand that you view them. What occurs is what you then seem to label unpreferential circumstance in your life. Unpreferential because it gives you the opportunity to view these things, but you are not validating that that is why it is there. And then again, continuing the idea that it is extraneous. How these ideas come up within your conscious reality, as you now have a consciousness, is that they manifest in what you have become to call negative emotionality. Therefore, when you do experience what you label negative emotionality, rather than recognizing that it is perfect, it is an opportunity to view things in the closet, you label it negative, and that is the only thing that gives you the negative effect. As we have labeled from time to time, all things are inherently neutral. We have recently extrapolated this idea to your emotions. They are also neutral. You may view them that way. If you label them negative, you will get, I promise you, a negative effect. If you label them positive, however, you will begin to use the opportunities you are giving yourself. And one by one, bit by bit, the closet clears out. When it is empty, in that sense, you are an integrated being who no longer needs to force things upon themselves. A primary example of a methodology, a symbolic representation of how individuals do force upon themselves the circumstance to need to look at these ideas with urgency is what you label upon your planet, dis-ease. That is, in a sense, the ultimate physicalized manifestation of forcing yourself to look at something in a most tumultuous fashion. Very interesting, very creative. However, when you begin to create consciously, you then view everything as an opportunity. You then look at any emotion that comes up and use it as an opportunity to glean what you are still believing in order to be experiencing that emotion. What has been labeled earlier in this evening of your time, the virus, is simply the idea of the runaway cart phenomena that is experienced by individuals when they are living through negative synchronicity, unconsciously creating their reality so that it seems, in a sense, to be running away from you, running away. That, in a sense, takes on an automatism, an automaticness. And this, in a sense, would be what is described by the word virus meant in that sense. So it is not necessarily the idea of an actual illness, but simply a viewpoint. One other idea that was discussed, which we wish to give our perspective of, is the idea of the imposed control, which was spoken of again earlier. In a sense, you may say that that control was imposed from without. Only when you are creating your reality, the first way we mentioned that things can actually occur from without. However, allow me again to steer you back to the idea that you do create your own reality. Reality doesn't happen to you. It happens from you. Therefore, you can recognize that you chose to explore this type of limitation. You chose to explore this type of separation. You imposed this idea upon yourself. There is no outside. You are the entire universe, and there is, in that sense, nothing outside of you. So, by owning that idea, you may now be privy to the mechanism with which you may release yourself from your self-imposition, for that is all it ever is. Our reality is one of total self-empowerment. And we simply reflect to you through what has worked for us that you may experience this also. Lastly, what was called the great separation may be viewed in this following way. We have explained to you that the ideas of time, the ideas of space are rather arbitrary. And that in a very real sense, there are the idea of parallel time tracks, parallel realities, parallel dimensionalities. In a sense, there are constant splitting offs of realities as individuals make a choice rather than another choice. In the universal sense, both choices are lived out, thereby splitting off, in a sense, parallel earths. While your society is beginning to integrate to the point of becoming one society, this will allow you to communicate and participate with other whole societies. Nobody, however, is ever forced to do this. Therefore, there will always be a place for those that choose not to. In a sense, their earth will seem to be the same earth they have always been on. Yours, however, will not. And this, in a sense, is the physical, literal separation of which we speak. And those individuals will have seemed to disappear from your reality and you from theirs. Therefore, again, not everybody in that sense will choose to explore that type of reality. But those who do are now beginning, in a sense, to be provided the tools to do so. Very many individuals. Therefore, again, as your planet does bubble up, the last remaining vestiges of what you label violence, tumultuousness, certain individuals will, in a real sense, go one way, others will go another. But it will seem that you have moved as an entire world, and you will not be thrust or torn apart in any way, shape, or form. Recognize again the idea of fear and what fear is. Fear is simply believing that a reality that you do not prefer is most likely. In order to have such a belief, there are other underlying primary beliefs. Anytime you do fear, you have the opportunity to flush again out of the closet these ideas and look at them. The way that you do, in a sense, speak to yourself, the way, in a sense, that you do explore with yourself in physical terms is with physical symbology. Anything you are experiencing is truly a symbol and not so much the thing, for it is only temporarily the thing. Therefore, in an overall sense, it is a physicalized representational symbol. Everything is. Therefore, by being a symbol, this simply means that there is a message to be gleaned from every symbol you provide to yourself. When you glean the message from a symbol, it has, in a sense, provided its usefulness and is on its way. It does not hang around. When you perceive something to be repetitive, you may then recognize you are not getting the message. There may be many messages. There may be many ideas. But when you do get the idea, the symbol does not hang around. So if it seems to still be there, do not again fixate on the same things you have already explored. Take it the next step. And it all has to do with honesty. For you cannot change what you do not own. And you must be honest with yourself about what you already believe in order to own it. And it is that simple. Therefore, we do appreciate your consistent willingness to co-create with us, myself, and our respective societies in what you may label the Association of Worlds. Therefore, I ask you now in appreciation for this willingness, how may I be of service to you? Sharing